Okay, number 3 asks us how much money is shown. So I just pulled out the coins from the picture, and I'm going to go through and try and identify the coins first. So whenever you're counting coins, you have to figure out or identify what the coins are. So I see that I'm going to start with my biggest value, and I know my biggest value is quarter. Quarter, quarter, big and bold. That's these guys. So I know that 1/4 is 25, but I have 3/4. So I need to figure out how much is 3/4 worth. Well, if I know 1 is 25, then I can just add 25, 25, and 25. There are my 3/4. And we'll work on memorizing this so that you know how much 2/4 are worth and 3/4 and 4/4 off the top of your head. And some of you might already, but if you don't, this is a strategy to help figure it out. Okay, I did 5 plus 5 plus 5 was 15. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. 2, 4, 6, 7. So I know that 3/4 is worth 75 cents. Now, once I use them, I'm going to cross them out on my paper. I'm not going to cross the coins themselves out. I just remove them. Now, the next biggest value I'm looking for is a dime. A dime is worth 10. Dime, dime, little and thin. I remember you're worth 10. So I see, do I have any little and thin coins here? There's one. So I have 1 dime. And I know that 1 dime is worth 10 cents. And finally, I have 1 coin left. So I have to decide, is that a nickel or a penny? And I know that pennies are brown or copper colored, so that must be a nickel. Nickel, nickel, thick and fat. You're worth 5. I know that. So a nickel is 5 cents. And we're going to make sure that goes in the ones place because the number 5 doesn't have any tens. And now all I have to do is add it up. 5 plus 5 is 10. I'm going to put my 0, carry my 1 10. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So I'm going to say my final answer is 90 cents. Okay, and I can double check that I used 5 coins. There were 5 coins in the picture. 3, 4, 5. 5 coins in the picture. So that's a way to check to make sure you have all your coins. Okay, and the last question, word problem. So we know that we're going to need UPSC to help us keep track of all of our information. Oops. Okay, there we go. U stands for understand. What important information is in the problem? P stands for plan. How am I going to solve this problem? S stands for solve, and C stands for check. So remember, we're going to read sentence by sentence in the word problem to figure out what the U is, what is important. So the first sentence says, Krisani has read 211 pages in a book. Now, that's probably pretty important because usually numbers are important. So I'm going to say, Kay read 211 pages. Okay? I don't need to rewrite the whole sentence because the whole sentence isn't important. I don't really care about where the pages were, whether it's a book, a magazine, a newspaper. The next sentence says, if the book has 500 pages, how many more pages does she have to read to finish the book? So, okay, I'm going to go part of the sentence by part of the sentence. If the book has 500 pages, now is knowing how many pages the book has important? Probably. So the book has 500 pages. And we want to know how many more pages does she need to read to finish the book. So this is a how many more question. How many more? And I'm just going to draw a little picture in the plan box to kind of help you visualize what's happening here. It's called a part-whole model. And hopefully we learned about these in 2nd grade, but if not, this is showing that the book has 500 pages. Like this whole thing is 500. So I'm going to color that red and label it 500. Okay, now I know that there are 2 parts of the book. The part she has read and the part she has not read. I know that she has read 211 because the problem told me that. I'm trying to figure out how many has she not read. So how many more does she need to read to make this whole 500? Okay, how many more is probably one of the only words that are like keywords that will tell you an operation. Normally we are not going to rely on keywords, but how many more means to subtract because it's trying to figure out what is this part. Okay, you could do 211 plus what equals 500, but most of us probably don't know that. So it's going to be easier to subtract 500 minus 211 to get this empty part. So we're going to say our step is to subtract 500 minus 211. Now, does that take care of all of our information? I used the 211, I used the 500, so that must be the only step. This is a one-step word problem because I'm only going to have one step in my solve box. So in my solve box, I'm going to do 500 minus 211. Here's my, just like we did earlier, I'm going to kind of put this on top of here. Like we did earlier, I have 500 blocks, 500 flats. And I want to take away 1, 1. My bigger number's on the bottom. So that tells me that I need to go next door to borrow 10 more. Well, nobody's home next door because it's a 0. So I have to go down the street. Down the street, I see a 5. So that tells me I can take one of my 5s, one of the 5, one of the flats, and trade it in for 10 10s. Now if I had those, let's see if I can do that with that. Nope. I'm going to go everywhere. Okay. Okay, let's see. Fair trade. Oh, yep, fair trade. So now I don't have 5 flats anymore. I have 4. And I don't have 0 10s anymore. I have 10 because I traded for 10 more. But that still doesn't help me with the 0 take away 1 in the ones place. However, it does tell me that I have a neighbor next door now. And I can trade with my neighbor. So I'm going to take one rod, one of my 10s, and trade it in for 10 ones, just like if it was a $10 bill and I'm trading it for 10 $1 bills. So I'm going to line it up to just prove to you that this is 10. One scampered away. There it is. So that's a fair trade. So I'm going to take the rod and leave you with the 10 ones. So I no longer have 10 rods because I took one to trade it in. So I now have 9 and I have 10 ones. I can take away 1, that gives me 9. And then I can do 9 take away 1, gives me 8. And 4 take away 2 gives me 2. Now I'm not done because I still need to check it. So in order to check subtraction, I'm going to use addition. And when I say add to the top, that means start at the bottom. So 289, my difference, go upward the opposite of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add. 9 plus 1 is 10. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. And those match up. And and I did make a mistake. I didn't circle my answer and label it. So 289 pages. Your answer should always be in the solve box. The check is just to make sure you did it correctly. So your answer should always be in this box. So don't forget to circle it and label it with what it is. So we know that it's 289 pages, not 289 books or 289 magazines.